Girl in the ruby slippers, Judy Garland once said, "We cast away priceless time and dreams, born of imagination, fed upon illusion, and put to death by reality." Now, for those of you who don't really understand what that translates to, it basically means this. The world of child stardom destroyed her. Her experience behind closed doors was traumatizing on high levels, and it really, really gives us an in-depth look as to why she died the way she died. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Hollywood underworld, corruption in the music industry, the Diddyverse, which I'm sure we all know plenty about because we're still following the news and still wondering what that outcome is going to be when that freak of nature gets out of bars. The gossip, the corruption, the scandal, the parties, everything that celebrities do when we are not watching and when they're not being interviewed by Jimmy Kimmel. That's what it's about today. So be prepared to hear some pretty intense stuff. Without further ado, let's get started. Hey folks, how y'all doing? I'm Al Tessier. Welcome to another episode of Showerbox. Joining me today is host of the No Hard Feelings kind of podcast, Jojo Len. Jojo, great to have you on the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I've really been looking forward to this.
Yeah. So folks, today we are going to be talking about the Hollywood and music industry underworld. You know what that means. It means scandal. It means unnecessary sex, morbid parties. And what the hell do celebrities do when the camera isn't rolling and the curtain is closed? We're going to be digging into the world of Mr. Weinstein, Sean Diddy Combs, who, as we all know, is due to be released from the clink soon. And there's probably a lot of questions as to what's going to happen once he is a free man. Am I right?
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely curious.
So am I. Let's start with that. I mean, frankly, it definitely proves that the justice system is completely unfair and rigged, how money can buy you anything, as we've seen in politics, but I don't really want to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it baffles me. Like, the man, he had the word guilty of everything painted all over his face. What do you think was the real downfall that he didn't get like a firm gavel slam, like 30 years to life?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And unfortunately, I think my suspicion is that he probably has some dirt on some powerful people. Whether it be, video recording, audio recording, who knows? But he's probably has some things that made a lot of people nervous, and that probably got him out of some hot water.
Yeah, I that does make sense that he probably knows a lot more. If you haven't seen it, it's on HBO Max. It's called The Fall of Diddy.
Mm,
It was a brilliant documentary, very in-depth details of people who know him, people who worked for him, etc. And one woman who worked with him very, very closely for many years said that he had the ability to make you disappear if he
yeah.
wanted to. So that, of course, that's the tone itself. I think part of me, I think another reason why the system failed is because the people who we really wanted to see testify on the stand chose not to, probably as a means to
Yes.
save their own skin. The people who should have come forward, like J-Lo, Ashton
Right.
Kutcher, Leo DiCaprio,
Yeah.
to name a few of, like, I think they were like the big three, if you ask
Yeah.
me. But also we have to take things into consideration. For starters, Leo is the most powerful man in Hollywood, so there's that. And J-Lo is one of the most powerful women in Hollywood. She's not the most powerful, trust me, folks, because she's too much of a diva, which just spilled on. I think the most powerful woman in Hollywood actually is Lady Gaga.
You think so?
I definitely think so, based on her range and influence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not just here in the States, but also globally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a discussion for another day. Probably will make a
Right.
good episode. Yeah, so
Right.
part of me feels that it's because the wrong people were not there to testify. And if you watch this, like the fall of Diddy, the man was like almost born and bred a criminal. Everything
Yes.
he did, like his real reign of hell raising, dates back to the 80s when he was in
Mm-hmm.
college.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, the man's basically guilty of murder. He is linked directly to the murder of Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, and even Aaron Carter, which is another one. I don't know why his brother didn't testify.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and it makes you wonder. I mean, there could be lots of reasons why, but yeah, unfortunately, it could have just been that he was scared, or threatened, when we don't know, but I kind of want to go back to what you were saying though about how he was basically born and bred into this life, and you're absolutely correct. Um, did you watch the documentary that 50 Cent was basically funded?
No, I did not. The only two documentaries I've seen is one's called Sean Combs' The Reckoning, and that's on
Yeah.
Netflix. And
Yes,
the other,
that's the one.
that's
That's
the
the
one.
one.
Yeah, I watched
Yeah.
that. I watched that. I need to watch it again, definitely. But enlighten our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was very well done. It's I believe, a four-part documentary, and it
Yes.
really, yeah, it does this great job of like breaking down the life of Diddy and kind of where he started from as a child. And even because you mentioned about, him being in college and his criminal life kind of really taking off from there. But even as a little boy, I mean, it's actually sad to hear and learn about. It doesn't excuse anything, of course, but it's very sad to hear and learn about how he really didn't have a choice. I mean, he was basically created or molded into a little gangster from 5, 6, 7 years old.
It's it's almost like he was a natural born killer,
Yes.
to quote the movie.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you mentioned too about being having these ties basically, and it's like we all know it, right, as far as his involvement with Tupac and Notorious B.I.G., the suspicion and the rumors and the different things that all point to him being the one who made all those things happen. But I know for me, like, I was in high school when both of them were murdered, especially back then. The thought that Diddy had anything to do with especially Notorious B.I.G.'s murder was so far from anyone's thought. That was the last person we would have ever thought, would have been involved. And now when you look back and so much more information, especially from these documentaries, about how he benefited from their deaths, especially Notorious B.I.G. He um just whether it was monetarily or his positioning within companies. I mean, there's so many things that I think when someone like him who clearly just lacks a lot of moral compass and um is really sociopathic, or it's, I don't know, I don't really know the correct wording to use for him or describe him, because he really doesn't seem to have any type of remorse for anything. He's only out for himself. And
Hmm.
yeah, it was really, really eye-opening.
I would go with sociopathic narcissist, I think is
Yeah.
the best way to describe his psychological stance. And here's the morbid part. So the song, I'll Be Watching You, which of course we don't really listen to anymore because it sounds so weird now. That was written for Notorious B.I.G.
Was it?
Yes, it was. It was written after his death as a means of basically mourning him. I'm like,
Oh, yes, yes.
but
Yeah.
the hypocrisy. I'm like, dude, you're one of the key reasons why the guy is 6 feet under. Now you're writing a song to mourn his
Yep.
death. Like, what? Are you trying to hide face or something? But I think
Right.
another part of me is this. It was the 90s. And Usher, who actually tried to warn us about Diddy 10 years ago, back in 2016, he was one of the first people to try and get it all out there. He said that the 90s was like a really kind of dark time in the music industry. And he's not wrong, because I saw an interview with Prince, of all people. Rest in peace. May the rain be purple. Um, he tried to warn us about not Diddy per se, but this level of intense corruption that exists within the music industry. And knowing what we know now, quite honestly, I feel like the music industry is more not cutthroat, but slit throat than the Hollywood underworld, which of course we're going to
Yeah.
get into with
Hmm.
Mr. Weinstein. And circling back to what you said, like him having dirt on people and stuff. And it makes sense because, like I said, one of the people who knew the most but didn't say a word was J Lo. And if you turn back to the clock to the 90s and the early 2000s, she was still very much a nobody.
Hmm.
So, one thing that's become kind of a pattern of all of this spilling out, these scandals within the entertainment industry, is that people that have become A-listers and top names within the entertainment industry, they knew this 20 to 30 years ago, but kept
Hmm.
their mouths shut. Why? Because they were a complete unknown. And because you get in the way of the people who are running the show, you will remain a complete unknown. You will never work
Hmm.
in this industry. They will like put up barricades. They'll rake your name through the mud, everything.
Right. Now, I'm curious your take on something though, because you mentioned Usher
Yes.
and how, he did try to warn us, and you're right. But what I find sickening and sad is the Justin Bieber
Yes, of
situation.
course, of course.
What are your suspicions there? Do you feel that Usher like knowingly kind of put Bieber on a silver platter for Diddy?
Yes and no. Part of me, I think he 100% knew what could happen to Bieber
He had to.
if
Yeah.
because he was a victim of Diddy. Diddy raped him.
Yeah.
Diddy raped him when he was like a teenager, when he wasn't even Usher yet, when he first like stepped into the industry. So I think Usher knew the possible consequences from his own experience. But at the same time, something tells me that there was some sort of like business lingering within it, because Usher is one of the on the entrepreneurial side of things. He's one of the most powerful people in the music industry on the
Yeah.
business element of it.
Right.
Um, so part of me thinks that there was some sort of like business linking with that, possibly contract related between Bad Boy as well as his label, that he couldn't really get out of. Maybe something in regards to like bringing new talent into the scope.
That's an
So,
interesting point. Yeah.
yes. So based on everything he has said and come out with, from a morality standpoint, he definitely betrayed his morals, because he has made it loud and clear that he would never allow his children within like 1,000 miles of that lunatic.
Right, right. Absolutely. Now, another thing though that I've heard, and I'm assuming you've probably heard little whisperings here and there about
Mm-hmm.
this too. And, it could be complete nonsense, it could be completely far-fetched, I don't know. But, you know, when people start talking about whether you want to call it the Illuminati or you call it something else, it
Hmm.
doesn't really matter what you call it, but it's this elite group of people that whether I can't remember who it was, but I saw a video where somebody was talking about that Usher may have had to basically offer up like a, a sacrificial lamb, so to speak, to sort of like take his place in
Mm.
in that situation. Um, and when you go back and you see videos and old interviews of Justin Bieber talking about how Usher found him and really kind of in a almost slightly creepy way got him, like got in touch with him
Hmm.
and really got the ball rolling on him. Now, some would say, yeah, because he was this incredibly talented kid and he wanted to, get to him before someone else did,
Hmm.
another label, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you look at it with what we know now, it does raise the question of that's not the most absurd thing I've ever heard.
Hmm. Do you think that had Bieber testified, he would have been able to give the jury some like very core valuable information? Because I
Yeah.
remember seeing some hidden footage where he actually approached Diddy, and Diddy was like, "You're not wearing a wire, are you?" So
No.
this, yes. So I don't know when this footage was taken, but it definitely had to be around the time that stuff started to leak out. So probably like
Right.
late 2010s when
Uh-huh.
paranoia started to grip him.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have not seen that, but that is really fascinating to me. And yeah, I do believe that if he had testified, it would have been very, very bad for Diddy.
Yeah, th- I think had Bieber grown a spine and
Hmm.
testified, that could have been the key to giving him the 30 years to life that he
Yeah.
deserves.
Yeah, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. The only thing is, from we don't know, we have no idea the extent of the trauma that poor boy went through. And especially being so as young as he was, um, when he was first introduced to Diddy. Um, I do believe that people, especially if you have a platform, especially someone as famous as Justin Bieber, you have a responsibility to shed light on things that are wrong and, you know, really stand up for the voiceless. But at the same time, I can't even begin to wrap my head around the amount of trauma that he has gone through, maybe is probably still hasn't even completely processed it all.
Yes, I can definitely relate to that on the cinematic scale. I have my own story that I'll be getting into once we start talking about Mr. Weinstein, but I can tell you
Okay.
this: when you're young and extremely vulnerable, uh how do I put it? Um it sticks with you quicker,
Right.
much quicker, and it grips
Yeah.
onto you. And even when you reach that primal age of like 25 to 30, once you're at that age and stronger doses of reality sink in and you were able to soak in and deeply reflect on everything you went through, um, it becomes much harder to flush it out of your system.
Yeah.
Despite every effort you have made over the past probably 10 something years to flush it out of your system, it actually becomes harder
Hmm.
because now you're an adult and you're at that age where you can really grapple with it and really kind of hold on to the reins of it, dissect it on a
Yeah.
much deeper level. So I think that's
Yeah.
probably another reason. Like I don't think he probably even had it within himself to be structured the way he would have
Yeah.
needed to testify in such an extreme case.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I definitely see, your side there. I'm curious though. I'm surprised that Cassie's testimony wasn't enough, you know?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I mean, the video footage, like everyone who saw it
Yeah.
said they like froze. They were
Yes.
completely voiceless.
Right.
Very much similar to how it was with OJ, where like you could hear a pin drop in the whole room.
Mhm.
So, I mean, but hey, like I can tell you this. The system is 100% rigged. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
for cripe's sake, I mean, look at many court cases of the past, like with OJ and stuff like that, or even with like Luigi Mangione. There's footage of the guy
Yeah.
doing what he did, but his case is totally different. And
Yeah.
quite honestly, I'll say that I'm just going to sum it up, folks, for when it does hit the news and hit the TV, you will not be able to find a jury that will lean in favor of the CEO under any circumstances because more than 90% of the American populace has been scammed and screwed over by insurance companies at least one or more times in their life. So none of them will favor him. That's
Right.
all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, when you have money, when you have power, when you have influence and connections with even more powerful people, I'm not exactly sure because only so many members of his inner circle have spoken out. You're invincible. You can do whatever the
Yes.
fuck you want.
Right. Right. Yeah. Another person that I find absolutely riveting to listen to, and she's very controversial because it's either you believe her. A lot of people, it's like there is no middle ground. I feel like with people with her, is Jaguar Wright. And have you listened to anything that she has said over the last few years?
No, no, I have not. I think she
Okay.
was actually on the list of people who tried to warn us about Diddy, but
Well,
because
yeah,
of her reputation, nobody took her seriously.
that's
Or
true.
at least they
Yeah.
struggled to take her seriously.
Right. Right. Yeah. But it's interesting with her because she was a backup singer, I believe is what yeah, so she went on tour a lot with, um so she was in rooms, important rooms with Diddy and Jay-Z and Beyonce, and, witnessed a lot of things and heard a lot of conversations, and everything that she has said, like, nobody has been able to disprove anything that she has said, and even things that she said that was going to happen or was going to come out that did. So, like, there's just nothing she has said, at least that I'm aware of, that came back where it didn't look credible.
Mhm. And I mean, another big warning sign about how awful he was is the inventor of TikTok, Kesha. In her song TikTok, the original lyrics was "Wake up in the morning feeling like P Diddy." She
Yeah.
changed that 10 years ago to "Wake up in the morning and fuck P Diddy."
Oh,
Yes, yes,
I
she
didn't know
did.
that.
That was she warned us through the power of music.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like another big warning, and I'm guessing like whoever was involved with production must have known a thing or two. Did you see the movie Blink Twice starring Channing Tatum? That movie basically was a s- fictionalized summarization of Diddy's white freak off parties.
Okay, I
if
wasn't
you
sure.
if you watch the movie again and then reflect on everything that we know about his freak offs and stuff,
Yeah.
they just mesh together perfectly. Even some of the
Okay.
dialogue that Channing Tatum's character uses is some of the same stuff that Diddy said on his
Interesting.
his live streams and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do know that Channing Tatum attended, I think, one or two of those parties, but I don't think he was not exposed under any circumstances to the
Yeah.
more gruesome stuff that was occurring
Right.
behind the scenes. And
Right.
another thing is that these parties, they don't just apply to like Diddy and celebrities and stuff like that. I'm currently
Mhm.
at the end of making a film right now. And our director, he lived in Hollywood for 10 years. He actually got invited to one of those underground sex parties. He
Wow.
did not go. He was skeptical about when he got the invitation, then found out what it actually was, and was
Yeah.
eternally grateful that he did not go. This is something that I've seen interviews with hotel managers who witness these
Yeah.
kind of things firsthand, like these incredibly rich people who are wealthy, entitled, and have a cult of personality about them. They are not afraid to splurge and do very bizarre things behind closed doors.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like this is also kind of even kind of starting to go blur into things like Harvey Weinstein and the more Hollywood side of things. But I've heard, and I'm thinking that it's true, that Diddy had like an underground passageway from his house to the Playboy Mansion.
I think I had heard a rumor about that. I wasn't really too sure whether to believe it or not,
Yeah.
primarily because the man had such easy access to like prostitutes and strippers that it doesn't seem like he would have needed a secret golden ticket into like the hub of orgies and stuff.
Right, right. I guess when I heard that, I didn't think of it in the way of like the purpose of him going there, like, had anything to do with the Playboy Mansion. It was just I think it was, from what I understood, that the passageway was already there, whoever had owned the house previously, and, so it was more like an escape route, or just something that people not everybody knew about, so in the event of, like, a raid, there
Mm.
was a way to get from point A to somewhere else.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense if it was an escape route. That makes a bit more. That definitely seems plausible. Because I mean, the man. It's not like the man had any loyalty or commitment at all under any circumstances. People who came forward, I think it was in the Reckoning, that documentary. One guy had said to one of Diddy's girlfriends, he's like, he's allowed to cheat on you, but you can't cheat on him,
Mm.
which was almost
Oh,
like a warning to
yeah,
this woman in particular.
right.
Um, Meaning, like, you go against his back, he can completely destroy you. He goes against your back, you can't do anything. Like, you're helpless.
Mhm.
You're helpless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you have to say about the fact that Prince warned us about this kind of like that there was a lot of corruption brewing and existing within the music industry back in the 90s, and us being foolish not to heed his wisdom? What do you have to say about that?
I think it just goes to show that it it obviously he was speaking from a knowledgeable place. Um, even not even just Prince, but Michael Jackson. Um,
Yes,
you
of
know,
course, the king.
right. And when you look at these people that, you know, were very, very famous, very powerful in their own right,
Hmm.
but they still, especially I know Michael Jackson, there's been lots of things that have come out over the years that he was in fear for his life all, leading up until he mysteriously died.
Yes.
So, um, whether it was to silence Prince or and Michael Jackson or anybody else for certain things that they knew, like information that they had, or just before the warnings that they were giving.
Hmm.
I think it just in the music industry and in Hollywood, I don't think there's any coincidences.
And part of me thinks that may have been a bit of a challenge for, because Prince was a very upright, straightforward individual. If you don't believe
Yeah.
me, you should ask Salma Hayek, because she was very good friends with Prince. And she's even done impersonations of him that are hysterical. She actually said he had a phenomenal sense of humor despite his kind of like very pose,
Yeah.
straightforward attitude. Is that Michael Jackson had endured so much trauma of his own. I mean, like through his father, Joe Jackson, uh, and stuff like that, that it probably was very, and I've seen interviews about him discussing that alone. It probably was a lot for him to digest and really just tough for him to like structure it all together and be straightforward and like, this is
Yeah.
what's going on, this is wrong. But thinking about all of this now, I feel like we are some of the stupidest people on planet Earth.
I know. I know. I do too. And you know who else has been screaming from the rooftops for years and years and years was Corey Feldman.
Yes, yes, he did. And that's one of the reasons why we don't see him anymore.
Hmm.
Is he was he wasn't I'd have to say, I think the word is like he was purged from Hollywood, basically.
Blacklisted. Yeah.
Yeah, I use the word perjury because he can't even get like indie films or anything like
Right.
that. Yeah, because I've discussed, I've kind of explained to people a little bit about the Hollywood system and how it works. You're either how do I put it? You're either like blacklisted, purged, or dumped. Blacklisted, people who've been blacklisted, they have a chance to make a comeback. I mean, just look at Brendan Fraser.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
he was blacklisted for the longest time, and that next thing you know, he wins an Oscar for The Whale.
Right.
He did the movie Rental Family, which my wife and I saw. I thought it was so sweet. It was so cherishing. Then he did movie Pressure. I have yet
Yeah.
to see it. I wanted to. So there is always hope to come back with blacklisting. Then you
Okay.
have like being purged, which is where you lose everything.
Yeah.
And that's that, like you're never going to work in the industry again. They make sure of it.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
best examples of perjury is James Woods. He was purged from Hollywood over a decade ago, actually almost 20 years ago, truth be told. And can't do anything. But he was purged because of his political loudmouth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Dumped is, I'd have to say, is actually worse than being blacklisted because it means Hollywood is done with you and you have to restart your career from scratch
Yeah.
at a much lower level. And usually people who are dumped, a lot of actually the time that people are end up getting dumped has a lot more to do about being too picky and selective with roles and stuff like that. One of the best examples I can give you is Alexa Penavega, who we will only remember from the movie Spy Kids. She was dumped by Hollywood about a decade ago because she's obsessively religious. Her nickname is the
Hmm.
Crazy
Yes.
Christian.
Right. Right.
She allowed her intense Christian beliefs to dictate her career, which made her like absolutely hopeless in Hollywood. And now you're only going to see her on Hallmark Channel.
Right.
So that's
Right.
kind of like the three levels of how it works. But one of the big reasons is in the case of Corey Feldman, if you know too much and people with power are aware that you know too much, they will make sure you are out of the spotlight so that you cannot open your mouth.
Right. Right. I mean, I even remember when he was trying to make his own movie, his own documentary about the abuse, just from his comeuppance, in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there were times he was being followed, he was being pulled over, by the police, like
Mm-hmm.
for, just obscure reasons. He'd be walking somewhere and a vehicle would come kind of charging at him very close, like warning him, you know? And these things were happening and nobody wanted to believe him because he's eccentric
Yes.
and, you know,
Sporadic.
yes, he definitely, you know, has a weird, like, you know, the he's not musically inclined and he thinks he is, and
Nope.
okay, whatever. But that doesn't take away his lived experience and the things that he's saying because it's like now everybody is much more like, oh, we should have listened to him, just like Prince, just like Michael Jackson. And you know, where everybody now is kind of kicking themselves for not listening.
Yeah, definitely. Well, truth be told, we might possibly see him make some sort of comeback appearance because now that Kiwi Kwan is back in the industry and working again, they're pushing really, really hard for a Goonies sequel.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so glad to see him back on the silver screen again. I mean, I grew up with Indiana Jones, and Short Round was always my favorite character in the series.
That's
I'm
awesome.
actually writing a script for a hospital comedy, and I actually want him to be in it. I really want to work with
Wow.
the guy. Yeah, I think he would like it. It would be a bit of a challenge, but he'd also be able to display a little bit of himself within it, which
Yeah.
is kind of my ultimate goal. But talking about Corey Feldman, let's walk into like the Hollywood underworld and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Now, here's the thing about Corey Feldman speaking out. He was right to do so because, as we all know, the Weinstein scandals would open the floodgates to the havoc, rape, abuse, and extreme misconduct that was occurring within Hollywood. And of course, now we know, like with Diddy and stuff, this also was in the music industry. Of course, frankly, I think that Diddy was 1,000 times worse than Weinstein.
Hmm.
Uh, but the reality is, this is not new. This is very, very old. This has been going on since the golden age of Hollywood, or actually, as they referred to it, the
Yeah.
dark days of Hollywood, with uh, Miss Miss Judy Garland.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. If you know enough about The Wizard of Oz, I mean, the
Yes.
director would touch her in inappropriate areas, primarily around her breasts, when the camera wasn't filming. The Munchkins groped her on multiple
Yeah.
occasions. And of course, her mother, who she called the real Wicked Witch of the West, did awful, treated her terribly.
Right.
This isn't new. I mean,
Right.
Marilyn Monroe openly admitted to once giving a guy a blowjob just so that she could get a role in a film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just speaking of Judy Garland again, the working conditions were insane for her.
Yes,
Like
yes.
not even just the inappropriate, you know, the sexual harassment and the abuse that she was dealing with, but you know, the long hours and she, you know, she was a child and, you know, just not even being given any kind of breaks and things like that. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
No, and most child stars like end up failing miserably. I mean, if you
Yeah.
don't believe me, what they go through, you should see it's on I think it's on I believe it's on Max. It's called Quiet on Set. It's
Yes.
about yes, that one was definitely eye-opening
Uh-huh.
and brilliant. And
Yes.
well, now we know why Jeanette McCurdy wrote her book. I'm glad my mom
Yeah.
died.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yeah. And there
Yes.
was another movie or I don't know if it's a documentary technically, but An Open Secret.
I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, that was one. I don't remember what year it was made, but it was just a really someone, you know, a couple people in the Hollywood industry that decided to speak out about the abuse that was going on, primarily, I believe, with children. And there is actual footage in that documentary of like one child star in particular recorded a privately, like without him, the other guy knowing, a conversation that he had with his, I believe it was his manager,
Mm.
talking about how he was abusing him sexually, and he didn't want it to continue. And this was all on tape, and it was, in this documentary. So of course, they did not want that to be released, but it was. A lot of these people did not want, of course, did not want to be named. They wanted the people who were saying, "Hey, this happened to me." So I can only imagine how scary that is.
And I definitely feel like it's much tougher for children. I mean, even
Yeah.
Kiwi Kwan has admitted it's such a difficult transition from being a child star to being like in the big leagues.
Yeah.
So I think so. There's a part of him that seems somewhat grateful that he took his like 20-year hiatus from the industry. He actually said that the movie that made him make make the decision to walk back in was Crazy Rich Asians, which he said he saw three
Well,
times. He said he saw 3 times in theaters, and he cried his eyes out each time, not
yeah.
because of how good a movie it was, but he's like, because I wanted to be on screen with all of those other Asian actors.
Oh, wow.
Mind you, I mean, the guy started out in the 80s, and it was a very different time and
Yeah.
era. And
Right.
unless you were probably working in like Japanese or
Mhm.
Korean cinema at the time, it was very tough for especially a child uh, to really make a staple for themselves unless they had that kind of like more thorough experience, being people like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Michelle Yeoh,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was a different time, and the industry has definitely shifted a lot, but it hasn't changed at the same time as we're about to talk about. And
Mhm.
there's definitely a lot of similarities between with Weinstein and Diddy, primarily in regards to the people who knew who kept their mouths shut.
Yes.
Because once again, those people were nobodies at the time. Now they are some of the most powerful men in Hollywood. The ones, and I mean, Tom Hanks openly said, "Yeah, everyone knew. Everyone knew what he was doing."
Yeah.
And Alec Baldwin was the same way. Denzel hasn't talked too much, but he definitely knew things were going on that just weren't right.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's Denzel Washington. He's got legendary status and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he's seen a lot of with his career spanning as far as it has. I'm sure he's seen even far worse things
Right.
happen
Right.
behind closed doors. But the ones who spoke out, who and everybody is definitely chastised them about it, are now three of the most powerful men in Hollywood, and that would have to be Matt Damon, George Clooney, and the one who knew everything but refuses to speak out, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Because Tarantino's girlfriend was actually a victim of Weinstein's, and she
That's
told him,
right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
the reason Tarantino kept his mouth shut was because at the time, of course, Miramax was the powerhouse of production companies back in the 90s and early 2000s. Matt Damon said that's where everyone was going to make good movies. It was the hub. But Miramax was also the only production company that would buy any one of Tarantino's scripts. So he knew that if he said anything or said it the wrong way, he
Mhm.
was never going to work again. And I mean,
Wow.
Matt Damon and George Clooney, they've openly made it clear they owe their careers to Harvey Weinstein. I mean, Good
Yeah.
Will Hunting, From Dusk Till Dawn. That same deal. They were nobodies at the time. They did not have that
Yeah.
level of power and influence that they do today. Uh,
Right.
yeah, because Matt Damon said, like, and this was even from the get go, he's like, I knew he was an asshole. He was proud of it. Um, he said, it took about 5 minutes for you to realize, like, that he was a bully, that he was mean, that he didn't treat people particularly well. And the real question was always for him and others is like, could you survive? Could you survive just one meeting with Harvey?
Wow.
Yeah. And
Now,
George Clooney said that Harvey would actually tell him stories, elaborate stories about women he'd had affairs with, and
okay.
that irked him on strong levels because his biggest fear was these may have been actresses that he was close friends with.
Yeah.
And I think
Wow.
even that somebody has the audacity to brag about having an affair with an A-list actress, the way he would have, that probably definitely disgusted him on deep levels.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, because it's interesting the reaction of people hearing when the men say, that this is what Harvey Weinstein was doing versus the women that he actually did something to when
Mm-hmm.
they come forward and say, look, this was what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're pretty much ridiculed, in the beginning until I guess finally maybe enough women have come forward. I don't really know how it works.
Yeah, and not many women have really come forward.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like some are starting to speak out a bit louder, but when all of this went down with the whole Me Too movement, you weren't going to see really any interviews with women talking about that. And I can't exactly understand why. I'm like, now is your time. Now is your perfect
Right,
opportunity to
right.
be open and vocal about it.
Well,
Um,
I think what happened, and this, I could be wrong, but I remember Rose McGowan being kind of the first
mm,
woman
yeah,
to
I think I
really,
heard about that.
yeah, to really say anything. And I don't know if it was because maybe she wasn't taken seriously as an actress or, because I want to say she was the one who dated Marilyn Manson for a while or something, but I don't know. People just, I don't think took her seriously, and it's a shame, but I think that is what scared the other women, and they were very hesitant to come forward. But every once in a while, someone would. I believe Ashley Judd and Mira Sorvino and maybe Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth doesn't really speak out too much, and I think maybe that also has to do with her reputation being tarnished the way it has been. I know that Lady Gaga, even though she was not a Hollywood name yet, she has openly talked about and done interviews about what she had endured over the years, and she just fell
Mm,
apart. She was in tears, couldn't really keep it together when she was talking.
wow.
So that really sets the tone of knowing what kind of gruesome abuse that they have been through. And it's pretty evident that they don't like having to relive it or reflect upon it. I mean, you want to throw the past behind you. Uh,
Right.
but it sticks with you. And it's so tough to flush out of your system because like I've told my story on the Was I in a Cult podcast on my own podcast. Like I was a member of a theater cult when I was
Really?
young. Yes, yeah. So I was a lot of stuff that we have seen with Weinstein. I was exposed to some similarities to it when I was as young as 14 years old. And this is it I mean I didn't really learn the terrible truth until I was 28. And all of this had already come out by that point, but I had been so shunned and flushed in the dark that I
Mm-hmm.
really did not know anything. And I've told people that when I learned everything and everything unfolded that do know now, it was like a Pandora's box exploded in my
Yeah.
face.
Oh
And
my gosh.
like all the red flags that I should have seen, that I should have understood, the abuse I went through, which was I was pinned in a position where I was forced to tears on more than one occasion. It
Mm-hmm.
just like it hit me in the face. It's a lot to soak in.
Yeah.
It really is because of that experience. I cannot watch the will no longer watch the movie Midsommar.
Oh,
uh,
wow. Yeah.
yeah, when you've been in a cult, watching that brought back, it just started triggering memories that I have tried
Yeah.
to get rid of for such a long time. But the thing is, I also tell people this. Um, I would not be where I am today had I not made the decisions I made back then. But it came at a price. And that price was trauma, years of coping with it, still kind of grappling with it to this day. But I'm also sort of grateful for it. And the reason I'm grateful is because I learned about the Hollywood underworld and what really happens behind closed doors, like before all of this came out, before I even
Wow.
like really walked into the industry. So I
Yeah.
do feel that having experienced that kind of helped give me a suit of armor that I could wear, and
Hmm.
also a bit of a compass to guide me to know, okay, these are some of the things that definitely happen within this industry, but you've lived it. You're a veteran of battling it before. You can take it
Yeah.
on now. So there's a part of
Right.
me that's grateful for it, but a part of me at the same time that still struggles to reflect with it, because it really is. And it, and only like one, only two women uh from that group have been vocal about it, have spoken out, because one of the one of the second victim, it's been over a decade, and last time I heard, she is only just now coming down to earth and
Oh, wow.
sinking back in with normality. The first major victim, she's actually writing a memoir, which I cannot wait till that hits the bookshelves.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to read it, and I'm sure also it will bring justice to what we went through. I myself am actually beginning writing a script about it. I actually had to. I was at a wake. One of the group members, her mother died uh, recently, and even though there was only her and one other person there, I actually decided to ask one of them, the other girl, her blessing for writing this,
Yeah.
because I do feel that I myself, with a lot of what I went through and what I know, and also kind of because people have heard my story on this podcast, and for those who have listened to Was I in a Cult, the story I told, I was ultimately scapegoated for all of the awful things that he did,
Mm. Yeah.
which really burned me inside and made me feel guilty, even though people told me you do not need to feel guilty. I'm like, somebody has to take the blame. And with that level of
Yeah.
manipulation, I really do feel like I am the one to take the blame. So I felt like I had kind of a responsibility and an obligation, not just to tell our story, but also to do it in a poetic way that could bring justice to everything we went through. So that's one of the reasons. But also, I made sure to ask their blessing, because I don't want them to, like, I know maybe one day see it hit the silver screen and be like, wait a second, that's
Yeah.
about us. Yeah, so I'm trying to kind of give them
Yeah.
a heads up, be like, "Are you okay with this?"
Yeah. I love that though, that you're doing that.
Yes.
And you know, I'm curious your opinion on this too, or just your take on it. Is, we're talking about Harvey Weinstein and just the Hollywood open secret,
Hmm.
and you were just talking about a theater cult, and now when we in this day and age with the internet being what it is, just so much more than what it even was 20 years ago.
Hmm.
um I feel like it's even more dangerous and more easier for young people to be susceptible to cults and even just any kind of abuse, like being
Hmm.
manipulated into
Yep.
abuse.
Yep.
Because I know there was one, they did make a documentary about it too, and unfortunately, the name of it is escaping me right now, but it's a dance cult. Like,
Mm.
like they make like the people who do just TikTok dances.
Yep. Yes.
And it's a group of these a lot of them were like on So You Think You Can Dance and stuff
Yep.
like that. And they're basically in a cult.
Yes. I mean, yeah, and especially with how the industry is changing and what it is today, where it's shifted, and I don't really love exactly where it's shifted because I'm kind of disappointed with this new generation that's
Yeah.
coming into the entertainment industry. My wife and I have been watching this wonderful eye-opening series on HBO called the Social Media Murders. And literally these people who are like TikTok stars and celebrities and stuff, like you said, with the internet changing and also with the internet being as powerful and toxic as it
Yeah.
is, these people, it seems almost like it's impossible for them to dodge a bullet, and then they end up dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to look that up because that sounds really interesting. You said the social media murders?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Look it up on HBO Max. You have to see it. It was pretty eye-opening. It
Yeah.
really does show the danger and threat level there is when you put your whole life out there.
Right. Right. And what makes it so scary is, you know, think about how when the internet first became like a household was beginning to become a household thing.
Hmm.
Everyone was the big thing, especially to tell the children was, don't give out your personal information, don't tell strangers, your address or where you live
Hmm.
or to meet up with them. And now people are putting their whole lives
Yep.
out on the internet for anybody and everybody to define them. And I mean, making it so easy. And then it's like, well, of course, the number of influencers, if you will, are being, assaulted, murdered, any type of danger because they're putting themselves in more risky situations.
One of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of TikTok, and I tell people this, is I'm like, it's an obsession.
Yeah.
It is a massive obsession because these kids, they just live and breathe TikTok. In fact, that's how they make their
Right.
bank now.
Yep.
People complain about the state of the job market, and it is pretty bad. I mean, more than 4% of the country is unemployed, and nobody's hiring except in the cheap labor market.
Uh-huh.
But the gross reality is this: people can make all of their income through YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok now. That's actually where the
Yeah.
money's at. That's the
Yeah.
big cash, the online bank, as I like to call it.
Right.
Um so like obviously they're very clever and intelligent to know that this is how they can make
Hmm.
money.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yes, yeah. And I mean, plus, statistics show that a little over 60% of current high school attendees have zero plans to go to college under any
Yeah.
circumstances, which means that university is dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of that also has to do with the fact that how things have changed over the past 10 years, because college grads can no longer get jobs anymore because now employers want experience, not education.
Hmm.
I'm like, not everyone has. I'll tell you this: that'll backfire. That will
Yeah.
backfire at least 5 years from now. It will literally crush the job market, or at
Yeah.
least crush their wallets.
Yeah. Because you can't, how do you get experience then?
Exactly. Correct.
Right.
Like, and if you go to college now and you study in a certain field, you actually have to have a job lined up for you the moment you get your diploma in order to actually get out into the workforce.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but no, they're putting their whole lives out there, and that's how they're making their nut. That is how
Hmm.
they are raking in the cash. Um, and I mean, but at the same time, it's like Josh Brolin said, uh, when he was on Grim Bensinger, he said he still does what he does. He's like, for the love of the craft, because he loves movie making and loves acting. He's like, this new generation, they just want to get famous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and I mean and also like, but at the same time, like, it's not working for them. I think I believe Robert Downey Jr. One of his, it's more of a fear than it is just a prophecy. He said like the next generation of actors and performers within this industry are just going to end up being influencers, and he does not like that
Mm,
at all.
I agree. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
like it either.
no, neither do I. Because what is it? Many of them will try to get like a pass to go to like these red carpet events. They get the cold shoulder immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they get the cold shoulder immediately. And even I myself, I mean, I'm fairly new to the industry and stuff like that. I've been like an extra and stuff and done behind the scenes work. Project I'm working on now is like the first big project I've really ever gotten. Um, it, like I'm the same way. I'm like, you guys are just famous through the internet and on platforms, and even some people have never even heard your name under any
That's
circumstances.
right. Right.
Yeah. So I feel another thing that will be their downfall with not being able to navigate this industry with everything that we're talking about is their egos are too exploded.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Yep. And I feel like whether it's music or movies, um, no one is willing to put in the work that everyone always had to do.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like they just kind of think, well, eventually someone will knock on my door, or I just put out the bare minimum, and someone
Hmm.
will contact me or find me. And it's like, even some of the biggest celebrities and musicians that we know of now,
Hmm.
they had to like basically they were like cold calling, like going door to door, to business, to label, agent to agent,
Yeah.
trying to get a gig
Yeah.
and or an audition, and having to be told no, 1,000 times, and they didn't give up. And now it's like, well, I'll just post videos on TikTok or
Yeah.
wherever, and it's really sad. I think that it waters it down.
Yeah. Even Nepo babies from that era too. Like I
Yeah,
said with Josh Brolin, it took him about 1,000 something auditions before he got the Goonies. And
yeah,
his father, James Brolin, his legacy is Amityville Horror.
right,
By the way, I
right.
prefer the original over the new one. Much better. Horror was way better back in those days.
I
Uh,
totally agree. Totally agree with you.
or Chris Pine. Chris Pine, his father, he's a Nepo baby. His father was in Chips. He before he landed Princess Diaries 2, he had a negative deficit of like 700 something bucks in his bank account and was thousands of dollars in debt to both his parents. So yeah, like it does take a lot of work, effort, and really crunching at the grindstone. And I always like to tell people like a little bit of it does a stroke of luck is
Yeah.
definitely something that plays a
Yep.
key role. People may not believe that, but luck does play a
Yeah.
big role in
Oh
getting.
yeah.
You just have to meet that one right person, and
Exactly.
boom.
Exactly. And there's a lot of talented people that never get discovered.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
Yeah.
most definitely. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I feel that with the egos that these TikTok stars have, that will be their doom in the industry. Because
Mhm.
if you have
Mhm.
such an inflated ego and are so much of a narcissist, you become blind to darker realities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that makes me concerned for them as to the victims that they will most likely become.
Yes. Yep. You're absolutely correct. And that's scary. It's really scary. Um, especially for women, but it can happen to men too, of course.
Yes, yes, it can. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that really seems to baffle me about like in regards to like victimhood and in this industry and stuff, like I said, uh, Tom Hanks openly came out and said, yeah, everyone knew what Weinstein was doing back in the day. Then why is it, do you think, that people such as him, like three people who already had a name for themselves when this was going down, who have
Mhm.
talked about it, maybe with not as much detail, but I have seen interviews with Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, and Alec Baldwin. Why do you think, with having the stature that they had at that time, that they would make the decision to keep their mouths shut?
Well, I don't know about Denzel Washington or Alec Baldwin, but there's not a doubt in my mind that Tom Hanks was probably doing the same thing.
You think so?
I do, because there have been rumors about him, and he and his wife, I believe it was just within the last like 3 or 4 years, but got citizenship, dual citizenship in oh, I cannot remember what country. I want to say Greece, maybe.
Mm.
Don't quote me on that, but he did get dual citizenship somewhere. And the country that he did, pedophilia is considered a mental illness.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah. So I think, because this was when, the Epstein files were first being brought up and talked
Yep.
about, that we were finding out about them,
Yes.
and the flight logs and things like that. So I think he was getting nervous, because from my understanding, he is on those flight logs more up there in numbers, like higher than most other people.
Really? I just, they keep saying again and again online, he's probably on the list. And that really sets
It's
sets
that.
the tone. It says something about how much power that Jeff Epstein actually had that we are
Yeah.
deeply unaware of.
Right.
I mean, part
Right.
of that is the fact that he always pled the fifth in his court cases. Um, and there's, what is it? They actually believe that there. I don't know if it's true or not. It does seem pretty plausible that Donnie Boy in DC is the one who actually had him killed.
Wouldn't shock me, I guess. I don't know. I think there's you could probably make a case for a few different people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um,
I
that
don't.
that would make sense.
I don't know whether it's true or not, but I think
Yeah.
from what people are saying is that Jeff Epstein had reached a point where he could no longer plead the fifth because too
Mhm.
much had been surfacing where he knew he would be drowned one way or
Yeah.
another. So I think from what they're saying, his train of thought was this: okay, if I'm going down, everyone is sinking on this ship with me.
Mhm.
So I think he
Mhm.
was like prepared to open his mouth finally and let the world know about everyone who was
Everything.
affiliated with
Yeah.
him. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that is accurate as well.
But
Um.
I had no idea about Tom Hanks. I really, really
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, and that.
It's And it's such a shame, isn't it? Like, just knowing that little bit, because, of course, we don't know every
Mm,
fact, every little thing, but, this is someone who I mean, he's a household name. Everyone knows him. He's insanely talented.
mm-hmm.
And it's so people like that, people like Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington and all the others, are you almost, as an adult, you start to feel like you know these people in a way, because you've
Yes.
seen, you know what I mean? And then so when you hear something like that, or you find something out about them, that comes out, it's almost like, like it hurts your heart,
It does.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like what they poked a joke at this in the Amazon Prime series, The Boys, which I love a lot. Jensen Ackles' character, of course, is Soldier Boy, who's been frozen in a cryogenic sleep in Russia for quite some period of time since the 80s. He's like, well,
Mhm.
Bill Cosby was America's dad, and he would never be caught wearing that. And then, of course, and Jack Quaid is like, lot to digest there. Funny you should mention that. And he's like, man, boy, that guy made some strong drinks.
Oh my God.
That's the way we look at Tom Hanks. He is like the the dad of
Yes.
Hollywood. So
Yes.
it's almost impossible for us to digest the
Hmm.
idea that he could be entangled within this circle of
Right.
pedos and rapists and
Hmm.
fiends.
Yeah. 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 But it makes me think of like, I remember the first time I saw the movie Hostel, and just even realizing over the years, even after I saw that movie, but like still thinking about it, is that there really are people in the world that have so much money or so much um fame that they don't know what to do with it anymore. Like nothing satisfies them anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and they're always looking for that next like thing, that next adrenaline rush or whatever. And unfortunately, there are people that are so sick that they look for, things like, buying people, or if they are pedophiles, buying children, or, like I'm sure you probably heard of like the adrenochrome, um, you know, rumors.
No, that's a
Uh,
new one to me.
oh no. Okay.
I
So
don't
that,
I don't watch the news anymore. I just can't
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's far too depressing and just makes you feel worse than you already do with the times
yeah,
we're living in. That's the number
yeah.
one reason I do not watch the news. Is I'm like
I,
I can't tolerate it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I totally understand. Well, I'll just give you a real quick, and you might even want to put like a quick content warning too, because it is very disturbing. But when we get adrenaline through our bodies, the adrenochrome, which is like the I don't know what to call it, the substance that we um manufacture in our bodies. Um, Apparently that substance, if you, I don't know how, but however another person would ingest it, they get high off of it, and it's like an insane high. And apparently children's adrenochrome is the best.
Mm.
And the best way to get adrenochrome is is when the person is the reason that they're pumping so much adrenaline is from fear.
Mm.
So when you think of things like Epstein's Island, there were a percentage, or if, I don't know how it worked out, but some children were used for that purpose.
That's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
That is disgusting.
Right.
Yeah, and also what you said about like these people who have got so much money and kind of gotten bored. My wife
Yes.
actually mentioned that to me, and it definitely got me thinking. She's like, think about it. They've been to Greece, they've been to Italy, they've traveled the world for making all these movies and stuff.
Right.
They've got enough money that they're set for life. What more do they have to do?
Right.
So, yes,
Yeah.
so they have these underground, like, but I'm like, of all things, like, why would you want to like dabble in these underground sex parties and stuff like that as a
Right.
means to like enjoy your spare time? Like, there are far better things to do. I'm sure you weren't able to see all of Italy when you just went and filmed The Passion of the Christ. I'm sure you weren't able to explore every corner of New Zealand when you filmed Lord of the Rings. Well, actually,
Right.
I might be wrong on that one, truth be told, because Carl Urban himself said that when they were making like Two Towers and Return of the King, he said, I saw more of my country in those 2 years making those films than I did in all my years living there. And
Wow.
yeah, and he's a Kiwi. He's from Wellington, New Zealand. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so
That's
I mean,
funny.
it does. I mean, but New Zealand's a very small country, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually considered moving there. Truth be told,
Oh, yeah?
I with everything in the political landscape that's suffocated and destroyed this country over the past 10 years, I myself was putting together my own game plans to like skip country and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
like, I'm either gonna stay in the Western Hemisphere in a place that has a stable economy, universal healthcare system, good movie industry, which was to make my way to Montreal, Quebec in Canada,
Mm.
or I'm just gonna get as far away from the United States as I can and only
Mhm.
come back if necessary. And that was to go
Yeah.
to New Zealand, which has a phenomenal movie industry. And also, what I loved about New
Interesting.
Zealand is that it's a country where violence doesn't exist, except in Lord of the
Mhm.
Rings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, but it still baffles me. Yeah, they've been to all these exotic places to make movies and stuff. Yet this is how you spend your spare time. This is your satisfaction. And I mean, it does make sense what you said with the drug thing because drugs have
Yeah.
been a a problem, a disgrace, and the downfall of so many people in the industry for the longest period of time. I mean, what is it? Danny Trejo said that back in '85, when he first like was getting into the game, that cocaine was rampant throughout Hollywood. He said he would go into
Mhm.
offices and there was lines of coke in production off his desks.
Yeah, I believe it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think though, like when you and I have a conversation about that and we look at it as like that's so insane, like that's what you want to do with your wealth, that's what you want to do to bide your time. But we're looking at it from a completely different lens. Again, this is not to make excuses. I'm just saying that we live a different life. We are
Yes.
in a different world. And a lot of these people were probably subjected to some very dark things at early ages.
Hmm.
And so, sometimes those types of things, abuse kind of alter their brain waves and the way they think. And they might feel like that it makes sense to them, or that it excites them in some way, it lights something up for them, even though it's disgusting and it's wrong.
Yeah.
But we can't relate to that.
True. Yeah. Like, well, I mean, I kind of can. Like I said, I'm glad I was subjected to that level of
What?
unnecessary
Yeah.
activity in the industry when I was young because it helped
Yeah.
me better understand what I could be getting myself into. Because I spent my afterwards like I didn't surrender myself to hard drugs. I know that some people like drown their problems in marijuana or even experimented with like opioids and stuff.
Mhm.
But me, what I did was I tell people how I drowned my problems in caffeine. I spent my 20s. I would drink 8 to 10 cups of coffee a day.
Mhm.
And I did it not because I knew it wasn't good for me. I knew
Mhm.
it was killing my cardio system and that it would backfire. People would always say, how have you not had a heart attack yet? I'm like, I'm drinking it because I like it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because it makes me feel good for some reason. It just numbs the pain.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I can kind of relate on a certain level. You definitely need like getting that high or that rush, even if it's just for like a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes. It makes everything, all the hardship, all the pain in your system evaporate so that you don't have
Yeah.
to think about it.
Right. Right. And then you just kind of chase that feeling.
Yeah. Most
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you folks want to chase after something and listen in, open your ears, even open your eyes on YouTube, uh, and you just want to support this podcast or have a chance to be a guest on the show, you can follow me on Instagram at ATK Media or check me out on YouTube at Chatterbox-94. Don't forget to like, subscribe. You can leave your thoughts in the comments section below. You can DM me via Instagram, and you can tune in, listen to me. I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever it is you get your podcasts from. Also, don't forget to check out JoJo's podcast, No Hard Feelings Kinda. You can also follow her on Instagram at NHFK Podcast or No Hard Feelings Kinda at YouTube. Preferably YouTube, because seems to me like that's where we get more of our popularity, to be honest. And that's another thing too about this new generation. When people ask what is their favorite thing to watch, they always say YouTube. That is the
That's
number one
right.
answer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'm kind of disgraced with YouTube, or at least upset about it, because I don't like the commercials anymore. I'm sick of it. I miss the old YouTube. I miss it when we didn't have commercials and stuff. I mean, I'm glad that movies are free on YouTube now. That's actually great. But I'm like, yeah, cut out the ads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, it was definitely great having you as a guest, and I would love to be a guest on your podcast if you ever
Yes.
find the right subject matter. I'm all about movies, mayhem, millennial madness, and like the ins and outs of the media industry. People think I just do movie criticism. Like, no, I dive way deeper than that. I like to talk about
Right.
everything within entertainment, both the good and the ill. In this case, what we're talking about,
Yeah.
the ill, the really,
Right.
really ill, sick, terminal.
Absolutely. Yes, you will definitely have to come on my podcast.
Yes, yes. Thank you, JoJo. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was really a lot of fun.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm glad. And hope to be a guest soon. So, till next time, folks, stay high in life. Out.